I'll double check. Oh, really? Apparently my Twitch needs to be updated. Thanks, phone, for letting me know ahead of time. Oh well. Okay. Hello and welcome. Oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. Hello and welcome, dear patrons, to the Tables of Tartarus, a chapter of Purgatory Corner. Today our storyteller is Benny, or Autis DM on TikTok, and today we shall be continuing the tale of Oceans Ablaze. Come on in, take a seat, let your imagination run free. Alright, Benny, if you'd like to take it.
Thank you for that, and as always, thank you for having me on. So where we had left off, the party were in the process of a rescue that didn't go badly, but definitely not as planned. They found themselves in an abandoned temple of the old gods worshipped by your party member Signa, and everything about the temple seemed to be designed to invoke discomfort of one kind or another, from the uneven stairs to the lighting that was set up such that in any direction you look, there always seems to be a bright white light right in your eyes. But the party had made it through all that and found themselves descending deeper into the temple, finding more and more primitive versions of it as they went down, until now you all find yourselves in a subterranean cave. That is shown on my screen that I'm sharing with you. And basically, they're crude cave paintings of Signa's old gods on the walls. And up and to the right, you can see there's a break in the cave wall where there's a source of light and the sound of lapping water. And from the walls in front of you and closing off the opening behind you have emerged goblins with tendrils of shadow sort of pulling off of them as they step out of the shadows and into view. And before we get into what happens next, we're going to do our customary introductions. Question of the week is going to be a little bit tougher one than I usually ask the party. And that question is, when is a time your character did something out of character for them, and why did they do it? And I think we'll go ahead and start with Ace.
That's actually a really difficult question for me. So I would probably say something that he did that was out of the ordinary for him. So he's a very heavy calculative person. So he very rarely does things that he doesn't think is going to benefit him in the future. I think the only thing that he's really done that would fit that category of just being kind of like non-calculative or based more on emotion than it is based on his logic side would probably be trying to get our ship back. Specifically the fact that it's gone. Technically there's no need for it. Technically it's better for the small ship for a small crew, and technically it's more difficult and more annoying and generally more of an irritant to go and get our old ship back. But he's still wanting to do it, and he's still going to force himself to be able to do it in order to get it, regardless of the costs. And I think the reason why he does that is because it's something like, I would almost say it's an emotional segment in his head. One of the few things that does. He has like an emotional bond to it that he doesn't quite understand. Maybe it's because of how he was tied to the crew, maybe because of the captain, who knows. But I would probably say that would be it. And then Ace himself, for the viewers, we're playing a Gestalt campaign, so he is a human, rogue swashbuckler, and hexblade warlock.
All right, and next up we'll go with Signa.
So Signa is a elf Or, well, she was an elf, and now she's the vampire thing, the Dampier. And she is a fighter rogue gestalt multiclass. And what was the original question again, my bad?
What's something your character did that is out of character for them, and why did they do it? It doesn't have to be recent. It could be any time during the campaign, before the campaign, whatever.
Well, something that they did which was rather out of character is probably when they chose to come back to the surface instead of going to serve their gods in the depths, though apparently that's happening one way or another, as they, even though it was everything they wanted, they also felt that they had a responsibility to see through what had started.
Okay. So loyalty to their old gods was sort of battling loyalty to their friends might be a strong word, but to their crewmates, and loyalty to the crewmates won.
Yep.
Fair enough. Marina Oceanstar, you're up.
So Marina, something she's done, especially basically her entire time with this crew, has been very out of character for her. But especially, literally anytime she's done a deception roll is very out of character for her because she doesn't like being forceful or tricking people or being murderous and basically pirate things. So this is very out of character for her because she thought that the adventurous life would be something less of a like we don't have the option but to kill them or trick them or whatever or use them. When she even disguised herself as a cultist, walked into a church and led a lot of people to their deaths. When really she would be someone to talk it out instead. So that's something out of character for her.
Fair enough. And am I correct in remembering that she is a druid / bard multiclass?
Yes, she is a
Bard of Lore and Druid Circle the Shepherd.
Yeah, sorry. The kids are crying and crawling all over me.
You're good.
They do that. And that leaves us with Locke.
Locke as the goblin artillerist and explosive and mad bomber alchemist of the group. As far as an out of character thing,
Mm-hmm.
like at some point before he met up with Ace and was kind of just running around in the slums. There were definitely more times than not that he could have made some extra cash, but he knew that the people that needed something fixed really just were never going to be able to pay that back. And so there was at least more than once where something would get fixed, and instead of either demanding payment or burning the building down for non-payment, he kind of just let it go.
Okay. So maybe not quite a heart of gold, but but not made of stone either.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So And also something I had neglected to mention before when I was introducing the scenario is that with the party in this cave, the princess who you rescued is still with you, and either appropriately or inappropriately, depending on your view, panicked about the situation. At this point, she's basically attempting to hide behind Ace as these clearly hostile goblins are emerging. So the question, party, is in this situation, in this moment, what do you do?
Just give me a. I'm having a hard time remembering which direction we came out from. The opening just behind us to the southeast.
That's correct. The opening just behind you that's now been blocked by a couple of goblins.
Okay, so we're going northwest. Okay.
That's the direction you were heading, yes.
Okay, all right.
Ace would probably
So-
be definitely stepping in front of the princess, trying to make sure that he's more focused on than she is.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick up a couple of stones nearby. I hope you're okay with me using basically 2 uses of my magical tinkering for this little experiment.
Go ahead.
I want to see how much these goblins are made of shadow. And so you guys see me pick up a couple of rocks and sort of try to judge how close they are to us. And I cut my palm again, smear some blood on, and you hear 2 fingers dislocate and relocate like glow sticks. And there's like a bright light. It's about 5 foot. It's about a 10-foot diameter from each one, and I'm gonna throw 2 of them. One off to the southeast to the goblins that are blocking the doorway, and another one to the. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got my directions mixed up. One to the southwest, where the goblins are blocking the door, and one to the southeast, to the goblins that are nearest to Ace and the princess that we're trying to kidnap here. Like, I kind of want to put I'm trying to toss one so that it's literally in between her and those goblins. Because if this works, then I've at least provided some sort of barrier. I want to see, how does the light affect them? Does it do anything? Do they, like, vanish in a puff of smoke?
Okay, you do that, and when you do, the goblins do kind of wince and squint and even shuffle back a little bit. They're clearly not accustomed to spending a lot of time in bright light. Those of you who are looking at your screen, those purple orbs I put on were meant to illustrate where Locke's spell would have landed. That being said, the shadow parts of them don't seem to be any less, and it doesn't look like it's hurting them in a hit points sense of that term.
That much I figured. All right. Shit. These fucking things. How badly do we want to fight these things, guys?
So I'm going to try something. I'm going to produce the holy symbol of my gods that this place is entirely built around, and sort of like wave it at them in the same way that one might wave a cross at a vampire. which is kind of ironic.
Yeah, the
Okay.
vampire using its holy symbol to ward off the not vampires. They do look at it and they do seem to recognize what it is, and there's a certain amount of disgust on some of their faces, but they don't retreat from it.
Well, I'm out of ideas.
Marina, you were starting to say something?
Maybe we can intimidate them or try to speak to them peacefully.
So what do you want to say to them?
Marina will just put her hands up, offering like in peace. It's like we're just simply lost the moment. We're just traveling through. We don't mean any harm. We're just trying to get out of here. If you want us not around, you can point us in the fastest direction, but that's all we're here doing. Simply trying to leave.
So one of the goblins is going to step forward from the group. He doesn't seem all that distinctive, although it's hard to make out between the dark lighting and the fact that they're partially made of shadow stuff. But when you mention wanting to find the fastest way out, he's going to brandish his blade and point to it, which is basically his way of telling you that's your way out.
I'm sorry, you cut out. What is he pointing at?
His blade.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. Again, we can try to intimidate them, or I can produce a fog. We can try to get through and not get hit by them.
That actually might work.
Or I can create a rush of water to push them away, but I don't know how well that'd work all around us.
I like that idea when we get closer to the water and we're trying to get the hell out of here, to kind of give us more space. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yes.
As you're talking, they're moving to more thoroughly encircle you. And they're advancing. They're not advancing in the kind of mindless rush you would think of a rabble of goblins attacking. They're just, at the very least, there's a bit of caution in their approach.
Ace is going to kind of brandish his weapon, kind of forming it into his right hand, kind of holding it tightly. And it doesn't seem like we'll be able to do too much without getting them out of the way first. I can move with her, but the rest of y'all, that would be a little bit more difficult. I don't know where our path is.
Okay. I need a couple. I just need like a minute or two here.
Not sure if we'll have that.
All right. Well, then in that case,
I can try to buy us time, Locke. Whatever you need to do, you need to start doing it. I can try to keep them away or distracted.
What's everybody's passive perception?
13.
11.
20 for Marina.
Okay. So, Marina, you're going to notice while you guys are talking, this guy back here has been trying to sneak up on you with his weapon out. So, what do you do?
Marina is going to... Hold on. Let's see if this includes...
Mm-hmm.
Marina's going to do Thunder Wave and try to just keep the goblin away and other goblins away.
All right, so I believe that's a Constitution saving throw, which he succeeds, but he still takes half damage, so roll whatever the damage would be.
That would be on. He takes half, so it's 3 damage.
Okay. He's hurt, but he's still up. And when you do that, this goblin is going to move forward. So he's basically in an area where the whole party is within the area of effect. And he's going to copy the spell you just cast. So I need everybody to make a
Oh,
constitution.
yay.
I believe it's a constitution saving throw for Thunder Wave.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
And
That'd be
that's the whole party.
18 from Ace.
That is a pass.
16 here.
15
That's an
for
18.
Marie.
15 meets, so you pass. What did Signa get?
16.
Okay, so you all pass, and you all take 3 damage.
Oof.
The goblin isn't really fazed by the fact that nobody but the princess Liliana was shoved away by the effect, and he is going to look around at the group, and I think he's actually going to identify the Princess Liliana, just her being the most regally dressed, as being the person who's probably in charge, even though she's not. And he's going to say, "Don't think that we're common feeble goblins like your companion." And he's going to nod at Locke as he says it.
Ouch.
And he's going to say, "We are mind goblins."
Oh. I hate that joke.
So, can Signa stab him?
Okay.
Well, in that case, maybe you would mind gobbling this down. And I'm gonna.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you like those? I like them apples. And I'm gonna pull a flashbang out of my pocket because he's he's right next to me.
Pretty
And
much.
I'm gonna smash the flashbang on the ground, and he can't take any reactions until the start of his next turn. And I just turn to the group and I point to the way out. Fucking run! And you're gonna hear the bird. You're gonna hear the bird tweet one. You're gonna hear the bird tweet again, and everybody gets. Excuse me. Where's my D8? Everybody gets 7 temporary hit points. And I think it just replaces the temporary hit points that you had from before.
Very nice, very nice.
Is everybody following Locke's thoughtful instructions there?
Ace definitely would be trying to get to the princess.
Yes.
All right, so you're able to grab her and pick her up. Is Signa following along, or is Signa doing something else?
Signa is following along, but also keeping her blade up and sort of trying to cover the retreat of the party as the primary fighter at this point.
Okay. So some of these goblins have bows. Ace. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say 11 doesn't hit your AC.
Nope.
Locke, I'm guessing 20 does hit your AC.
Shield.
Ooh, nice.
Okay, what does that do?
I get +5 AC until the start of my next turn.
All right, so that stops it. All right. So
until the start of my next turn, I have 21 AC.
Okay.
Damn.
And Marina, I'm guessing 10 doesn't hit your AC. And finally, Signa. Does 14 hit your AC, Signa?
No, it doesn't. It meets it.
Okay.
Actually, wait, it meets it. So yes, I think. I always forget the ruling on that one.
It's meet or beat, so it's 4 points of piercing damage. and 2 points of psychic damage. And I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh,
All right.
interesting.
It's going to be a natural 20.
Natural 20. All right.
Damn.
So you feel it's the feeling where, I don't know if you've ever had that feeling where you just get hit really hard and your body shuts down. You start to have that feeling, but you steel yourself and you overcome it. But there's still a lingering dread, a lingering sense of terror. It doesn't affect your ability to do anything, but you get the impression that had that gone a slightly different way, you would have been severely impeded.
Do not
So-
dare use your mind arcanum on me. I serve those who created it.
All right. So the party is, are you running toward the water or are you trying to go back the way you came?
I'm running for the water.
Okay. So everybody's heading for the water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just roughly putting people about where I think they would end up.
I don't know if this is a good or a bad idea. I just know that where we are is already surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So,
And just a quick reminder: Signa and Ace both each have 1 potion of growth.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So you now essentially have your backs to the water. Is anybody here proficient in nature?
I am not.
Funny enough, I am.
Marina is.
Marina is.
Yep. So the two of you, when you look at this water, what you're going to realize is that it's really shallow, probably no more than 3 feet deep. So even Locke, being relatively small, could still safely wade out into it. And I don't have an illustration of it, but that opening opens out into a broad cavern filled by this pool of relatively shallow water. And in the center of this cavern is an island about, say, 30 feet across, with a group of, they're hard to make out because they're still some distance away from you, but they're a group of smaller people, it seems like, standing around a collection of like rocks and wood and crude painting. It seems like it was someone trying to build something that would look like a monster. And while you're noticing that, the goblins are starting to form up. Now, I think Ace and Signa, being more the tacticians of the group,
Mm-hmm.
are going to notice that as these goblins are forming up, what they're not doing, even though they definitely have the numbers and mobility to do it, is they don't seem to be trying to truly flank you, and they seem to be hesitant to advance to the water. So they still don't look friendly. There's still definitely an air of menace about them, but their advance is slowed somewhat.
Strange. Seems like they don't like the water. Think it hurts them?
Well, then I think this would be a perfect time to make a wall of water toward them.
Could be a good plan. We are out
And
of their
that's
way
what
now.
Marina will do.
Okay.
Um, okay. Do you want me to read off the description? Oh, what happened to Signal? Oh, there's Signal.
So, Aurora, not right now.
Yeah,
So,
Hmm?
the wall of water, it makes up. You make a wall up to 30 feet long, 10 feet high, and 1 foot thick. And Any ranged weapon attacks that enter the wall space is at a disadvantage. And it goes on to talk about other abilities are halved.
Okay, so you're basically creating a barrier of water between you and the goblins.
Yes. It lasts 10 minutes.
Okay.
Damn. Very effective.
All right, so a couple of goblins start to push through it, and others are starting to move around it. But it has bought you a little bit of time before they can act effectively. So what are you guys doing?
I'm going to look at the water behind us. Try to peer deeper into it, see if there's if it's shallow enough that we could potentially get through it, or if it feeds into a larger basin or stuff like that.
Go ahead and give us
Perception.
a perception check.
Okay. That will be a lovely 18.
Okay, so on an 18, what you were able to determine is that the water is definitely, as your companions had surmised before, the water is definitely shallow enough for you to safely wade into.
Mm-hmm.
There's something, it's not unnatural in the sense of it being poisonous. There's something odd about the way that this water moves. It's got the texture and saltiness of seawater, but there's no obvious outlet anywhere. So maybe it's slowly trickling in from somewhere to here. It's really hard to say. But in terms of any immediate danger, it is shallow enough for you to wade through. And there's nothing close to the shore. There's nothing you can immediately see that's hostile.
That's strange, but if it's shallow, we should be able to get through it. Someone will say to the party, the water is a bit odd, but I think we can walk through it. So let's get going. Better than here.
Good to me. Yeah, I'm not even sure if I wait for everybody else. As soon as Ace is talking about wading through the water, I just kind of start walking into it.
I'd be following him, holding the princess.
Okay.
I'll similarly be following, but I'll be, again, sort of covering the rear as I do so.
Okay.
Reno will follow.
All right. So you make your way out into the water, and you're in a dome-shaped cavern that the walls look naturally formed, but the space seems too symmetrical to really be natural. And there's no obvious way out of this place other than the direction in which you came. As you wade into this water, the goblins do stop at the shore, and they watch you go, but they don't make any effort to stop you.
Not shooting targets while they're wading through the water is a very strange thing for them to do. This is concerning. The water's getting me worried.
Yeah, you getting the heebie-jeebies about that too?
Yeah.
I imagine we're kind of just standing here like 30, 40 feet away, noticing all of this.
Okay. As you're making your way out, you are necessarily moving toward the center island that I described.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get closer to it, you realize that there are this odd construction that takes up the center of the island, this strange ogre made out of whatever was around. There are a couple of small fires that have been lit on its construction that illuminate the cavern, and they seem to give off a lot more light than they should. The circle of figures around the ogre, I'm going to call it an ogre because that's about how big it is, not because that's necessarily what it looks like. It doesn't look like anything in particular. It looks like someone told a bunch of children to build a monstrous figure, and they did so with no particular plan. So there's things that look like a tentacle and things that are roughly in the shape of fangs, but it's a really disjointed appearance. But although oddly well crafted for the apparently improvised nature of the materials. And from what you can see of the kids around it, because they do seem to be children in terms of their facial features as well as their physical size, they don't conform to any race that you specifically know. Like there are kids, like one of the kids has gills, definitely looks like some sort of seaborn people, but isn't a Triton, isn't a sea elf, isn't a Sahagwin, just has a different constellation of features. One of the kids has long pointed ears like an elf, but also horns like a tiefling, and they're all like that. They're identifiable as humanoid children, but that's about as specific as you can get. And as you get closer, some of them look your way and then go back to what they were doing. And one of them does stop and spend more time looking at you, still working on this figure that they were building, but with a much more distracted expression.
Well, this
that's
is
not our
concerning.
problem.
Listen, I'm not very good with kids.
Last time we saw a kid, I'm fairly confident you tried either punching it, stabbing it, or yelling at it. Probably because it was the same size as you.
Listen, the goofy little fucking ankle biters, as far as I'm concerned.
Pretty sure that's the definition of a child.
Okay. Let's just tread carefully and talk to the child.
Would you like to say hi?
Let's just
I could say
avoid it.
hi.
No, let's
You
just
know what?
avoid
I think
this.
this might actually be better for Marina or Signa to do. Maybe both.
See, there's a general unspoken rule about the depths, which is that if you see someone doing a bunch of culty stuff, and you are not a part of that cult, and or you weren't specifically invited, don't interfere in any capacity unless you want to be the one who's being sacrificed in the culty stuff.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Can I get the scenario retold real quick? I must have missed something. Because I heard there's a little child, but culty stuff is being brought up.
They're building an effigy from an amalgam of different items from around the cavern. It sounds like, and it has no specific form. It just looks like a monster.
So Signa, at this point, you're going to hear as clearly as you ever have the voice of your gods telling you, move forward to the island.
Okay, so I'm getting new information. New sources have called in, and they're telling me we should move forward to the island. However, the last time my god spoke to me, they also tried to kill 2 of our party members.
Maybe it's a helpful version of your god?
Who knows? Let's go find out. And with that, Signa is going to start moving forward because, I mean, not obeying my gods is as sure a death sentence as obeying my gods either way. So.
I mean, there's no
only
good,
way to
there's no
go.
good behind this.
Well, Locke will follow.
Yeah, basically.
So as you make your way to the island, the child who who had been watching you, who the child has green skin, fairly prominent fangs like a vampire, and pointed ears, is going to smile and just say, "Look what we made! Isn't it scary?" And it's gesturing to this, as Locke described it, effigy that's built up in the center of the cavern.
I tell you what, that's some scary stuff, kid.
Yep, it's definitely something out of the ordinary.
One of the children is going to look over, and the child has been working at the base of this thing, painting. And what the child has been using to paint is what all of you really hope is mud. And the child is going to say, "Do you know how long we've been working on it? Do you know how long it's been?"
How long?
"I don't know. How long has it been?"
Hmm?
Oh, shit.
Well, that's concerning.
So, Signa being the expert of the occult here, can she determine anything about this situation? Like cross-referencing it with other, like, rituals and stuff that she's seen of her gods?
You can make a Arcana check or a religion check with advantage.
I'll do the Arcana check. So that's going to be a 23.
So what these kids remind you of is that in the same way that your gods don't necessarily represent anything that physically exists or even can exist on the prime material plane, your gods are more like the idea of things that people are afraid of, the idea of the cold, dark depths and all the horrors that it contains. These kids in some way seem to represent something along the same curve, but at a very different end of it. They're more like, the more you look at them, the more you realize they seem more like the idea of children than actual children as you would know it.
Interesting. So, yeah, Signa's just going to say, I don't suppose you'd know of a way out or have found one in your time constructing that thing.
We are down here to be safe. We don't want to get out.
Safe from what?
Everything. When we came here, there wasn't anything, and then there started to be fish and animals, and then there were people, but some of the people and some of the people were mean, and some of the animals were scary. So we came here and we built this so we would be safe. And child is pointing at the thing that they're building, and we made things to be scary so people wouldn't want to come here. Even the goblins over there won't come out into the water because they're so scared. And in the water, everyone's scared of us.
In the water?
The water, yeah, in the water.
Like, there's other people in the water?
Well, you were in the water one time. You almost came down to join us. You and the child's going to look at Ace and say, both of you almost came down to join us.
Called it!
You know, I have a sinking suspicion that this may or may not be the representation of your actual gods, Signa, and that is terrifying.
My god is they're a bit of a spectrum of entities, and I think that these particular creatures are on that spectrum.
Where'd you get all the stuff to build it out of?
So one of the kids is going to start to add some material to this sculpture, and you recognize the material as being cloth from the uniform of one of the men on one of the ships you destroyed. And everywhere, everything ends up in the ocean, and everything comes to us.
We're in some kind of backwards portal? Does that make sense, Signa?
A little too much, to be honest.
Does that mean that if we go in the water, like if we dive down, we'll pop up in the ocean?
I'm not entirely sure, but if anyone should test that theory, it should definitely be you.
I feel like if we just spawn in the middle of the ocean somewhere, that could be as bad as being down here forever.
Do you want to leave? Do you want to go back out of here? It's safe down here.
We have things to do up there. Things that require our attention, unfortunately.
I've been instructed by entities very similar to you to ensure the world outside doesn't become even more chaotic.
So at this point, the other kids have all stopped their construction, and they're all watching the party with a combination of fascination and confusion. And one of them, who is a little girl who looks like she might be something that's akin to a bugbear, is going to ask, is there a way to be safe outside? If we left here, do you think we would be okay?
Can you be mean?
So, cat,
Can you be
ham
scary?
on the top of the head.
What?
So as Locke says that, the little girl is going to make like a kid's angry face and is going to hold that expression for a moment. And then as that moment passes, what that's going to turn into is something roughly 30 feet high, which is this sort of tentacled monstrosity with multiple gaping fang-filled mouths that's looming over and almost encompassing Locke, and gonna let out a roar that seems to come at you from multiple directions from all of these different mouths. And actually, Locke, I need you to make a wisdom save, please.
That is a 14.
Okay. So you failed a wisdom save against this otherworldly effect, so you're going to have some kind of reaction to it that's involuntary and possibly messy. I don't want to tell you what your character would do, so how do you think Locke is responding in this situation?
Definitely, like, I think at that point, probably vomiting pretty badly.
Okay. And the moment passes, and then it's back to just this little girl smiling at you and saying, "Was that scary?"
Oh, let me tell you something, kid. That was some scary shit right there. I think if all of you can do something like that, and all of you can get all of us out of here, you'll be just fine.
The world up there is a scary place, but there's a lot of good things about it. Whether or not you'll be fully safe, I cannot say for certain. But as long as you can protect yourself, you're as safe as you can make yourself. We go up there without the knowledge that we'll be safe, because we have things that we want to achieve, people we want to save, and things that we want to protect or get. If you have that, it'll take you very far.
So at this point, the kids are going to say, just one of the kid who spoke first, the kid who spoke first is going to say, just give us a minute. And they're going to go into a huddle, essentially on the opposite side of the statue effigy thing from you.
Mm. Ace
As they
kind of
do-
looks at Locke and is just like, man, you are either about to scar everybody on the friggin' surface, or you're about to rain hell upon the planet.
So, fuck them.
Yeah, we can't spread our name if there's no one to spread our name to.
We can't spread our name if we die down here either.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree. We
Sometimes
don't
you gotta
always have to make sure our name is well known.
Yeah, but
Besides,
Locke's
we kinda
option
need to
here is
survive.
to invite possibly elder gods to the planet upstairs and make them scary.
Is Sigma
Okay.
contributing anything to this conversation?
Perhaps you should have had this conversation before telling them that they could fend for themselves above the surface. I'm just saying it's a little late to go back on this one.
He started it.
Yes, I'm very much aware. He started most of the shit in this temple, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and look where it got us. Nearly out.
And conversing with ancient elder beings, which I am not a fan of.
Listen, I've got my own fucking plans for your elder gods, okay? Speaking of which, I'm gonna pull the bird down and I'm gonna start sort of playing around with it a little bit.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna use up my last spell slot
Okay.
to switch it to switch the bird from protection cannon to flamethrower mode. Am I right that this effigy is kind of sort of made out of wood, fiber, flammable things?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll save that for later.
Okay. So the kids are trying to whisper amongst themselves, but they're doing that thing little kids do where when they whisper between their excitement and their high-pitched voices and so forth, it's so clear what they're saying that they might as well be yelling. And what you get as you're listening to this is they're talking to each other in a cacophony of different languages. Some of them are languages you know, some of them are languages that you've heard bits and pieces of as dead languages, and some of them you just have no idea. But after a period of time, the kids are going to approach and they're going to say, okay, we're scared, but we're ready to go. We're gonna leave this behind, and we don't want to make scary things anymore. We don't want to scare people anymore. We're ready to leave. We've been down here and one of the kid who's been doing most of the talking is going to tilt his head and he's going to say, we've been down here for. He's going to look at Signa because Signa is the most knowledgeable about issues about these deities. He's going to say, how long has it been? How long has the world been?
What was the last event you heard about?
The last event we heard about when we were on the surface was the monkeys came down from the trees and started building towns and making tools out of stone.
That was just a couple years ago.
A couple of billion years ago.
Locke, give us a deception check.
Swear to God, Locke.
Oh my god, Locke. Give us that nat 20.
I really wish it was. I have an
Where's that
11.
lucky one? Oh wait, can I bardic inspiration him?
Sure.
All of you.
What is that?
It's like, oh yeah,
Think it's a D8?
Luck knows these things.
D8.
D8.
Mhm.
Here we go. D8. Don't fail me now.
1.
Shit, that's cocked. Hold on.
What'd you get?
It was cocked. Hold on. I got 5, so that makes it a 16.
Nice.
So this kid is going to look at you for a long time in a very skeptical way, and then is going to describe, and again, I'll let you fill in the blanks as to what this would have been for Locke. But the kid is going to say, we do sometimes see things that happen on the surface or in the minds of people. And then the kid is going to describe some particularly embarrassing event from your childhood and, describe it in front of everybody.
Jesus. Particularly embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many good ones.
But after that,
The very first explosive that I thought I had built that turned out to just be less than a firecracker.
Oof.
All it did was get me busted.
Fair enough.
Signa's just going to sigh and
It's
say,
okay.
Signa's just going to sigh and say, it's been many, at least thousands of years, likely longer, that you've been down here.
Kids are going to look at each other with some trepidation at that, but the girl who had frightened Locke is going to say, oh, so all the things we were afraid of are probably gone now.
Yes, and many of the entities that would have been after you have left this world. I know of a few fallen angels a few centuries back who would have been interested in your abilities, who were banished by a truly noble goblin.
I thought it was an orc.
Both.
Or at least a whole. If I remember correctly, that story had a whole team to it that helped get rid of that fallen angel.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, it ended with all of them being made immortal.
I think I remember stories of the orc. It was a strange one.
So yeah, if you go out there and you find an orc that just can't die, he'll protect you.
He ain't wrong.
See?
All right. Well, we're getting bored and we've been down here a long time, so we're ready to see other things. Come on. And the kids are going to gather around you, and each of them is going to take one of your hands. So some of you have 2 kids because there were 8 of them and 4 of you plus the princess. So the numbers aren't quite even. And they're as they take your hand, they're going to lead you back into the water. And as they do, the water is suddenly significantly deeper than it was before. But as soon as the tops of your heads go under the water, you find yourself starting to surface again, and you're on the beach above, outside the city where you started, outside the city of Spathen. And the kids walk up onto the beach with you.
That's a weird feeling.
Well, at least we're above ground now, and out of the town at least. That's great.
Hope they
One
ain't
of
stealing my
them
damn
is
boat.
going to hand the princess some kind of jewel and say something to her that you don't quite catch. It's very quiet. And then the kid is going to kiss her on the cheek, and the kid just essentially dives into the water and seems to turn into some kind of sea creature like a dolphin or something. It's hard to see. One of them is going to walk up to Ace and presents you with a essentially a brooch, like something you would pin on your clothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's jeweled, and the symbol looks a little bit like the tentacle symbol of the old gods, but it's so stylized you wouldn't know that it was that unless you knew what you were looking for. And it's like a gold and gem encrusted swirl pattern, essentially.
Interesting. He'll take it.
Okay. So this does two things for Ace. One is that you have resistance to psychic damage, and two is that your weapon attacks deal 1d4 of psychic damage.
Ooh, okay.
And the kid is going to say, "Thank you, brave one," and is going to follow the lead of their friend and walk out to the water and turn into an octopus and start swimming away. Another one is going to walk up to Marina and hand you what seems to be a monocle, like a decorative piece of eyewear.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
okay. And the kid is going to say thank you and give this a child's interpretation of a courtly bow, and also go and jump into the water, and again turning into this time a sea turtle and swimming away. This monocle, you don't have to wear it at all times. You don't have to wear it at all if you don't want to. But whilst wearing it, you will have advantage on deception checks.
Oh, that's fun.
Yep. And Signa.
Yep.
In some same situation, child walks up to you and hands you, reaches out like wanting you to give them your hand.
All right.
So the child ties this little charm bracelet made out of, looks like it's made out of like seashells mostly, and just random cord.
Okay.
And then the child will firmly shake your hand, and similar situation, walks out to the water, turns into a bird and flies off over the water. This charm will allow you to cast Eldritch Blast at your level.
Hey. Nice.
And finally, Locke, one of the kids walks up to you, reaches into one of the pouches on his clothing, and comes out with his hand balled up, gives you the finger, kicks you in the shin, and then walks away and jumps into the water, turns into a shark, and swims off.
Yep, that's it. I'm cratering the whole fucking place.
So a few
Locke,
seconds
don't you dare.
after they leave,
Oh, don't I
Signa,
get it?
Signa is just going to smack
Yes.
Locke hard in the back of the head. And Signa's going to say, from now on, I do the talking with the Eldritch Beasts. Or maybe him, and then Signa's going to point at Ace. But no one else!
That's fair.
I didn't say anything wrong to them. I might have assisted Locke, though, but still.
That's just as bad, if not worse.
Cursed by association.
Really funny. Okay, it was funny, though. Whatever. Here I was trying to adjust to the group and have a little bit of fun.
It's
Not
at this
being a
point.
princess.
What were you saying, Locke?
It's at this point. I kind of wander a little bit out into the main like the main thoroughfare from the
Mhm.
docks, and I'm trying to look where I think the inn was where we were, and so the fun thing about my infusions is I can just sort of like turn them off whenever I please.
Hmm.
I mean, it takes me a long rest and the materials to remake it, but I'm going to turn off the bag of holding that's filled with about 20 explosives in an inn right now.
Okay.
And when that happens, the bag of holding just regurgitates everything that's inside of it. And I imagine at least one of those bombs goes off and sets off a chain reaction.
Oh boy.
So we're talking like all of my explosives doing double damage to the entire structure.
Well, hopefully we didn't have anything else in that bag.
And there's no way we're going to be able to go back and go get it.
It's fair. That's fair. It's a lot of
Right.
damage.
So somewhere in the distance, I mean, you're pretty far from where that all happened, but
Mhm.
somewhere in the distance, you can hear a set of explosions, and you can see a plume of smoke rising up from where this happened.
Sweet music.
My goodness, Locke, you're quite something. It's honestly entertaining at this point, seeing what you do. And that was quite impressive. I applaud you.
Thank you. Sometimes my
And she'll clap.
insanity knows no bounds.
So at this point, the princess is going to walk up to you, Locke, and say, "Why would you do that?"
Why wouldn't he? I mean, he doesn't want any touching his stuff. And certainly anything that's in that bag wouldn't be good in the wrong hands. So,
So I just have to hope there was no one in there. But there was. Now they wouldn't know it was us.
I mean, not gonna lie. After the day I've just had, I kind of hope there was someone in there. Now, where's our ship?
Our concerning fellow goblin. Where is our ship, though?
Hey, it's why you love me.
Keep that in the air for now.
All right, so
I appreciate you, Locke. You're pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
where you are right now is basically on the beach outside of town. It wouldn't be too much of a chore. It would take some time, but it's not too much of a chore to make your way back to the docks and to get to where you last saw your ship. Is that what the party wants to do?
Yeah, I'll look at the princess and just kind of go, all right, so we got you out, and if you don't want to be captured again, our ship is probably the safest place for you to be. Mostly because we're probably one of the few forces on the planet right now that is not hunting you down to kill you. We're actually trying to make sure you don't die.
What do you want with me? Where are you people taking me?
Home, specifically so you don't start an entire world war that we have to deal with the consequences of. Well, more accurately, I should say, so our benefactors don't have to deal with the consequences of, and then rakes our entire existence for all of eternity in hell.
Oh, you should have said so. That's okay.
Anyways,
Okay.
yeah, we're planning on taking you back home.
Marina, you said your passive perception is 20.
Yes.
If you treated your insight score like passive perception, where would your insight land?
On the princess, because that seems sarcastic.
No,
She
that's not what I
17.
meant. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry. I was
You good.
confused. It's like, wait.
Yeah. I guess what I'm looking for is to treat insight as a passive score. Okay. So there's nothing in particular. There's no particular reason not to believe the princess. She seems pretty sincere that she definitely is over it with palace coups and subterranean temples and magical children and goblins who randomly explode inns possibly full of innocent people. But for all of that, you get the sense that there's just something a little bit off and not necessarily sure what. Not
Ace,
sarcastic exactly, but maybe that she's not telling you something, or that her enthusiasm isn't quite what she wants, what she's making it out to be to go home.
Ace would probably look at her and say, so why were you here in the first place? We heard stories of possible marriage, but it doesn't seem like you've been that interested in that.
Well, I didn't have a whole lot of choice after you dropped me off. I was kidnapped and brought here against my will, and then when the palace coup happened, I mean, I was just being spirited away from what was happening, and now here we are. So I guess all's well that ends well. I get to go home. I really should never have had you all put me ashore. Maybe if I'd just stayed with you at the beginning of all of this, some of this unpleasantness could have been avoided. Anyone who wants to can make an insight check against this.
Yeah, I guess I'll make an insight check.
That'd be 11 from Ace. Jesus.
That's a unnatural 26 for Lyra.
Marina.
I got a 19.
Marina. Yeah.
Ace and Locke. The princess is clearly telling the truth, and you both feel a little bit edified that she's admitting that she should have stayed with you and trusted in your protection rather than going her own way. Marina, you know she's lying.
Princess. It's certainly not very royal of you to lie to a group that just rescued you from a coup. We can easily just send you back if you'd like. But certainly, I don't think you want blood on those pretty hands of yours. I'm sorry I'm speaking kind of rudely to you, princess to another princess, but being around such a wonderful set of pirates have taught me a few things, especially catching on when someone's lying.
So she's going to step back and stepping away from Marina as you're saying this, and she's going to turn to Ace, who's been sort of her self-appointed protector and who believes her, and is going to say, "I'm your friend is scaring me. Can we just go? Can we get out of here?"
Marina, I'd suggest you not make threats we can't keep. Obviously, if we were going to do something against her, it would not be throw her back. It'd be something after we dropped her off. But no, we have no intention of harming you, princess. I'm also not sure why you think she's lying. Clearly, she just said that we were correct. I mean, we kind of were.
Okay. Maybe you're just convinced that she's telling the truth because you'll get some kind of reward and recognition after all this. Isn't that what you want most, Ace? I've discovered that you like your name being known. And I get that she's a princess, but princesses lie just as well or as easy as pirates. I do not believe her. She's being a snake.
It's at this point that the little wooden bird flutters over to Ace's shoulder, and it's pointed right at her. I'm gonna be honest with you, sweetheart. I've known her a lot longer than I've known you. I didn't like the last interaction we had. Now, as much as I would love to believe that you are holding yourself accountable, if she thinks you're lying, I'm gonna believe her on this. And before you get any ideas, that little bird's not there to protect anyone anymore.
Signa's also going to chime in at this point and say, I'm not sure if you're lying or not. However, what I do know, working with my benefactors, is that royals are the most likely to deceive people. And I have trouble believing someone who is staying at a palace with a temple to my gods directly beneath it. That isn't something that good people do.
Technically, she was stolen and put there.
We have no proof of that. We have her claim. We have her word.
Okay, Ace.
That's true.
If you are going to stick so kindly beside her just for your name's sake, then we'll just say you're the one that started the war.
He's
Certainly,
gonna
I'm
raise
sure
his
they'll
eyebrow at Marina.
Ooh, Kitty got
You're
close.
believing a princess that is clearly lying and everything. And because she left, it started all this. And she's claiming that all things good and considered.
I mean, so far she's just saying that we were right and that she should have stayed with us until she got dropped off, and her being dropped off early is now causing a large war. I don't really see any of that being false.
When armed peasants are at the throats of royalty, what do? They tell the peasants exactly what they want to hear. We, to her, are armed peasants.
And that's true. What reason would you have to lie, princess?
You're asking. Look, I'm fine. Look, if you guys want to go ahead, let's go find your ship. Let's get out of this town. Let's get back to Troy and Noah. Everybody's going to be happy, and even if I'm embellishing the truth in some way, which I can't imagine why you would think I would do such a thing. But even if I'm less than 100% honest, as soon as we get to your ship, and as soon as we are on the sea, none of this is going to matter. So perhaps it would be best for all if we just go.
She makes a fair point.
I mean, one way or another, we have to do that anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
We'll just keep a respected eye on you, Princess Liliana. I'm sure you don't mind. I mean, it's obviously for protection. I'm sure you wouldn't do anything.
So she's going to give you a little curtsy, and she's going to say, it has long been my family's desire to establish a relationship with those who rule under the sea, and it'd be delightful to know that I am worthy of your attention. And she's saying this not in a sarcastic way, but in a very polite and courtly way.
Lyra will... Marina will curtsy. It's like, it's always a pleasure. I'd rather not have a war. I believe in stories that you ask for them to if they want to surrender first before you act.
Aces don't whisper to Locke. Is this what it's normally like when royalty starts bickering with each other? It's so awkward.
You're asking me?
Yeah,
You
I suppose you
picked
would know
me
as
up.
well as I do.
You picked my busted ass up off of the ground.
I love Locke.
To be fair, I put it there a couple of times.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll say we bind and gag her to the mast when we get under the ship.
what's the point in that? She's precious cargo.
Right. And if she jumps off the fucking ship?
I can get her back, and then I'll just kind of stab her to make sure she doesn't again. See, it's not very useful when you bind and gag her, because then she'll just want to leave more. So you give her a reasonable threat as to not leave. Also, we are one of the few places at the moment that aren't trying to kill her, so probably best to stay with us in the first place. Unless she's trying to drown herself. But I have ways to stop that.
All right, you're the captain.
Anyways, let's go on and find the ship if you two are done, wherever this is.
Yeah, I gotta get back to my lab, and I gotta remake a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that was a non-costly decision of yours.
Bag and 20 explosives.
I'm sure you'll find some more. Maybe you'll make even scarier ones.
Like I said, at some point, I'm returning to this place, and I'm cratering the whole fucking temple.
Princess, you never did give me an answer. What was with the whole guy who wanted to marry you thing? Was that just you being kidnapped again, or?
We met one time, we had a pleasant conversation, and he decided that I was his soulmate. My parents did not agree to the marriage, but he was insistent and to the point of kidnapping me and risking starting a war. And now he and his father and his whole family have been overthrown. I don't know who rules now.
Well, Locke, that means that you can totally come back and bomb this place to hell whenever you feel free.
Well, I have a clue. As to who's running the fucking show right now.
Yeah, I'd rather not confirm that just yet. Too many issues with it. Besides, we still have to get our good ship back.
Yep.
Alright, well, time to get on to the Revenge, and Princess, we're gonna take you home. Wonder how your parents will receive us. Do they give gold when they receive you, or is it like they give us a favor, or is it like they just sing our names to the highest of praises, or do they just not give a shit about pirates?
Well, for starts, they'll probably pardon you of your many crimes. Beyond that, there could be, I don't know, maybe a knighthood in it for each of you. Except for you, Princess, and she's going to nod to Marina and say, perhaps some favorable trade agreement with your parents' kingdom. We'll think of some reward befitting of your station.
Yes, I'm sure my family will appreciate that.
Go and look at Locke and just start kind of laughing softly and be like, Mr. Sir Locke. That'd be a hell of a title for you.
Sir Locke, the explodable.
From
I
rags to
can't wait
riches, they say.
to see what kind of. I can't wait to see what kind of story they create about you, Locke. I'm sure it'll be quite the entertaining one. Maybe they'll make you a little taller, you know?
I'm pretty sure it'll be a horror story when I'm finished.
Alright, well, to the boat. Please don't start walking.
Alright. So you'll make your way out to the docks. You notice there's a lot of confusion and borderline panic at this point, because this is a city whose government has just been overthrown.
Mm-hmm.
So there's understandably a lot of confusion. There's people who are in a rush to leave. There are people who are talking about leaving. There are also, you may remember when you first came here, there were a lot of mercenaries who were here to join the war effort for the conflict that was about to start. And the fact that the government has been decapitated does beg certain questions about how they're going to get paid and if there's even still work for them here. But for all of that, especially being as adept as you all are at living amidst chaos and confusion, you're pretty much making your way to your boat through all of this fairly easily. Until, as you're approaching your boat itself, the Princess Liliana steps away and casts Misty Step. So she reappears some distance from you. And she's going to shout to just the world at large in a voice that's clearly magically enhanced.
Fuck this bitch.
My people, these brigands have overthrown your king and your prince and slain the royal family and kidnapped me.
Ooh.
Take your revenge. And from among the crowd, a very familiar voice is going to shout, "My love, so good to see you safe." And when you all look over to where that voice came from, you're going to see your old Captain Gorm, accompanied by a group of armed men.
Look.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
At this time, can Marina slap Ace silly?
Absolutely. Roll for an unarmed attack.
Okay.
All right.
I'd like to perform the help action, which is just holding Ace still as she winds up to slap him.
See,
Sure, why not?
as you do so, though, Ace is going to also use Misty Step to be right next to her.
So we're going
You
to.
son of a fucker. Marina's gonna turn into a bird. Why
Wow.
I'm gonna bitch slap him. No.
While this
So
is going on,
to be technical about it, you can't take Misty Step as a reaction, so Ace gets cracked across the face.
Oh, I get slapped the shit out of me as I did that fucking Misty Step right next to the princess.
Yes.
Oh.
Anyway,
so
It
while
seems like
this is going on and everybody's kind of distracted by the spectacle, I'm having my little bird flit around from ship to ship, setting the mast on fire, or at least
Hey.
setting the sails on fire.
all right.
And I pull out a handful of flashbangs and I turn to the three of them. Get your head out your ass and fucking run. And I'm gonna throw the flashbangs at Gorm's feet,
Nice.
and we're gonna book it for the ship.
And this seems like a really good place to leave our adventure for tonight.
Yep.
Oh, it's gonna be crazy with me separated from the party and all y'all flashbanging everyone. Alright. Well, hopefully you guys
But
enjoyed.
you didn't get away from the party though.
I got slapped and then I Misty Step next to the other princess.
Yeah.
So I'm at least 30 feet away from all y'all at the moment. Possibly surrounded. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, feel free to hit that follow button. Go check out Vods of Valhalla and Tables of Tartarus at the link inside the chat here, or if you guys are on our YouTube, feel free to go check out the description. Yeah, go check out our Discord if you guys want to see more up-to-date information on when we stream, and of course this is where we will be streaming, and we'll be popping up probably next week, hopefully at 5 p.m. PST, and we'll let you guys know if that changes. All right, have a good night, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye.